The year is 1927. The Wild West Show is playing Deadwood, South Dakota. Like today's rodeos, you have your share of steer wrestling, bucking, broncos, and bulls to ride. But there's one major difference. Women are competing for the prize money alongside the men. And a young girl named Tad Lucas is starting to make a name for herself.
She was a champion steer rider and a race rider when she was growing up in Nebraska. And then she got into the Wild West. And that's where she discovered the trick riding.
Well, the first trick riding I ever saw was right here in 1921. And I'd never even seen any trick riding. And the minute I saw trick riding, I knew that's what I wanted to do. Oh, I don't think it'd take any nerve.
I mean, it's got to be dangerous.
If you had a good horse.
It's got to be dangerous.
You sure have to have a horse that won't kick. Shoulder stand is up in front of your saddle. And then you go around the horse's neck. And, of course, under the horse's belly. Oh, when it was contesting, you really had to work.
Her trick riding won Tad Lucas more championship trophies than any other cowgirl in the history of professional rodeo. And it launched a career that saw her perform in New York, London, Australia, Belgium, and Mexico. She was the first woman to be enshrined in the National Cowboy Hall of Fame. The walls of her Fort Worth home are filled with the memories of the thrills and the spills. Broken bones went with the territory.
Dropped down too low and the horse caught me with his feet. And then he just kept turning me with his feet. He was running fast. And just crushed my arm. I can't turn it or anything anymore. It was in a cast almost 4 years.
Tad's daughter, MITZI, was 5 years old at the time.
It was the show, one of those show must go on type things. My mother broke her arm, and she had a whole summer full of contracts. She broke it at the World's Fair, and she taught me a few little tricks.
MITZI became quite an accomplished performer in her own right. So did GARLENE, who learned to trick ride from her mother, VELDA Smith.
Tad and I tried to go between the horse's hind legs.
Yeah, we sure did. I'd forgotten that.
She is the only one that's completed her ride on that.
You know, instead of under the horse's stomach, they're speaking up between the back legs.
Sit on the back and come between the hind legs.
Under the tail and between the hind legs is what they decided to do.
We stayed down there and practiced that until the night performance. And I was just lucky that I made it. And
it was my daddy.
I had knots on my head, bigger than hen eggs all over my head, where the horse had hit you in the head.
Flaxie Fletcher and Mary McPherson were also veterans of the rodeo circuit. The cowgirls loved to reminisce about the old days at Fort Worth's Northside Coliseum and the all-night train rides, eating, drinking, and playing penny ante poker with the men. Today, it's quite a different story. With the exception of barrel racing, the big rodeo prize money is now limited to the men. There are all-girl rodeos like this one held last month at the Northside Coliseum, but you won't see these cowgirls competing in the big contests. Women began being phased out following World War II.
And as they eliminated it, the cowboys had more money to, in their events, but the cowgirls didn't have anything to go to.
There's no cowgirl bronc riding anymore, and there's trick riding in very few places. But I guess the cowboys just need so much money that they didn't want to pay it anymore.
It is somewhat ironic that in a society where women have established themselves as equals to men in almost every field of endeavor, the reverse holds true in the rodeo arena. Tad Lucas hasn't been on a horse since 1957. She still enjoys watching today's contests and working with the North Fort Worth Historical Society for their Chisholm Trail Days celebration. And she knows from personal experience that a cowgirl can hold her own against anyone in the rodeo arena. John Criswell, Channel 8 News.